Good morning, everyone. We're just going to wait for another 2 minutes before we start the session. So just hang in there and give us 2 minutes. If your club members haven't joined in yet, please ask them to join in as soon as possible, because once the speaker starts, we will not be admitting anyone into the room. Once the speaker session starts, I'm repeating, once the speaker session starts, we will not be admitting anyone in the room. So please ask your club members to join in. You can also let them know that what is the naming convention to join, because only then will the co-host let you into the meeting room. So another minute or so and we will begin. So please make this as soon as possible. Great. So it's 11:08 on my clock, and as promised, we're going to begin now. Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, thank you so much for registering for the formal communication focusing on email communication, email construction session. We are so glad that we've received such an overwhelming response on the first professional development services project that we're conducting by the District 3190. And we're hoping that today's session is going to be as informative as it has been planned for you. So please stay with us and try and grasp as much as possible. The speaker today has prepared a brief deck for all of us, and he's going to take you through the session. And there are some activities planned as well. So for the activities, I would suggest that take part, and we'll see how many we can accommodate. But do take part, because it's going to be great learning for all of us. And just take back as much as you can from the session. There's going to be a quick Q&A session after both the formal communication as well as email construction portions of the session. So do ask your questions. We will try to answer as many as we can. And if we cannot, we will definitely take them up personally and reply to you. But take back as much as you can from the session, learn as much as you can, because the whole point of the session is for you to take back something very important. We usually believe that emails are an easy portion of our communication and we can write what we wish to write, but that's not really how it is, because we need to at least read them 5 times before we send it out, because they are the most important portion of your professional communication. And that's why we have started off with the most basic basic element of being professional, and that's it. That is about writing your emails. So let's see what all you can learn from this session today. And now I would like to welcome Raj Vamshi, our DRR, who has so graciously accepted to let us host the session today, and we are thankful for him to pitch in to be all yours on all our ideas and how we wanted to conduct the session. And the number of participants today was also a go ahead because of him. And thank you so much, Raj, for being here today and taking your time out this morning on a Sunday morning. And thank you everyone actually for taking your time out and being awake at this time in the morning. I'm sure it must have been difficult, but thank you so much. And Raj, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Omshika. Good morning, everyone. So, as Professional Development Director already mentioned, so email writing is one of the very important thing. But at the same time, we all think that we know, but we might not be knowing. So, please understand and learn as much as possible. I would like to appreciate the Professional Development team, Executive Council, and the district committee for making this happen. We also have an amazing trainer today with us. Thank you, sir, for accepting. His introduction will happen soon. So, once again, thank you for the interest shown in this event. Let's make use of it at the best. Thank you. Over to you, Amshika. Uh, Vamshika, you there? You can go forward. Are you there?
Yeah, Raj, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, you can go forward with the speaker introduction. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you. So today's speaker, he has been my colleague, boss, mentor, friend, philosopher, guide for the last 8 years that I've known him. We first met at Goldman Sachs and then again at Skill Factory today. Raghavan Veera has worked with the investment banking industry for the last 15 years. And before he decided to take the plunge or like this next big step in his career, he decided to follow his passion. And he's extremely passionate about people, skill development, and that's what landed him to be the director at the Skill Factory, which is a leading organization in the field of learning and development. If you asked him today how he utilized his time during this pandemic, he would ask you to follow his YouTube channel, The Armless Musings. I would like to welcome a motivational speaker, life coach, and today's soft skill trainer, Mr. Raghavan Veera. Thank you so much, Raghav, for doing this for the Rotaract 3190 today. We welcome you, and I will hand over the space to you now. You can share your screen.
Thank you, Anshika, and thank you, District 3190, for having me here today. It is indeed a pleasure to be here on a bright Sunday morning, and be able to share some of my experiences in this important topic of formal communication and email writing. And there ends my pleasure of being here, because the rest of the session is all about you participants. It is indeed overwhelming that there are about close to 290 people who have logged in on a Sunday morning. Most of you being from the education space or still studying is what I understand, and to be able to come in over here. So it is not about me anymore. It is about you. It is about ensuring that at the end of this session, you have the pleasure of learning, and that is what I am here for. To see that there is some elevation to your levels of learning that we can influence. So that's about it. So we will go in straight into this, but before that, just wanted to like give a background in terms of when we started this, when Vanshika and I spoke about this and what we want to do. We sort of brainstormed and we came up with something that is very unique and exclusive. Because what you have to understand is this is not an off the shelf content or off the internet content, let me say, that we have designed, but we have designed a very unique and a very customized program where we also want to have some interaction, which is generally not the case when it comes to the virtual sessions. But we are in our endeavor to see how we can have as much interaction as possible. So we all know it takes two to tango. So please be as participative as you can. Do ask as many questions you want to, and the more you participate, the more you're going to gain out of this. Secondly, this has been more of an experiential learning process. As I said, it's not off the shelf, and as you may have heard from the introduction that my previous life was in the investment banking sector for 15 years, and pretty much a very formal environment, writing a lot of emails, having a lot of dialogue across diverse teams, various locations across the world, involving multiple cultures, but still being able to work as one global team. So this presentation today is about bringing that experience and being able to share some of that with you. And your learning will also be experiential in the sense that the more you participate, the more you're going to experience and the more you're going to gain out of this. So let me go direct into the introduction space of today's session. And whenever we are talking about the any session or anything that has to happen in the current scenario, it's become a lot of a formality for us to mention about what is going on around us. Of course, we are going through a global pandemic event, and the last 3 months has sort of changed the trajectory for the world forward. This has always been the case when we've had any global event in the past. For example, World War II, when that happened, and of course it was a debacle, unfortunate. But as an offshoot of World War II, one of the things that came out was the United Nations, for example. In 2008, most recently, we had the financial crisis that actually gripped the world. And what came out of that, which a lot of us, it may not have touched our lives really, is a lot of the financial markets across the world got regulated very stringently than what it used to be before. So similarly, one of the offshoots that we are experiencing as a part of this pandemic event that has not left any small corner of the world impacted is, how things are turning more virtual. Let's look at it as something really positive, where not necessarily everything has to be in person. Imagine if this event is itself an evidence, right? If we had to do this in the pre-pandemic stage, it would have been in a place with brick and mortar, people walking in, a lot of chatter, and then we would have probably started off just telling everyone to keep quiet, put your phones on silent, and then we start, which we don't have to do right now. But so what is happening is the virtual reality. Earlier we used to have something called the actual reality, virtual reality, but now we are pretty much getting close. They are both sort of the same. Interviews are happening online, business deals are being cracked online. Nobody is really wanting the need to travel across places to have real discussions. So that is what is the offshoot. And why this is important is because what is very important in this process is the way you communicate. A lot of us in this group may be people who are studying and maybe going for placements, and your placement may not be something where you will have somebody walk into your campus or you walking into an office to have a conversation, have an interview. It will be something just happening over a Zoom call like this. So what you are perceived as pretty much becomes you, right? So it is important that we set the right perception, and formal communication becomes very important in terms of setting that perception right. While we talk about this, one thing we cannot ignore, another elephant in the room, is our inclination towards social media and the impact it has had, right? Because in social media, there are no regulations, no standards, and you can kind of, have conversations as you wish and like. But what happens is when we are not able to switch back on to a formal environment, especially when we are online, then that becomes a problem, because formal communication otherwise requires certain amount of standards to be followed, whether it is speaking, whether it is writing, whether it is listening, whatever it may be. So what's very important is we need to demarcate, and I think that's the important message I want to leave you all with the introduction is, in your minds, starting today, if you've not already, one thing you want to take away from here is demarcate your mind in terms of being in an informal environment versus a formal environment virtually, right? That is going to make a world of difference in terms of having a very bright and strong career path for people. Even if you're somebody who's already working, and like a lot of people, it's a new experience, but it's about ensuring that we make those demarcations so that we understand where we are and what we need to do. Moving forward, I just want to talk about what is formal communication. Why do we need formal communication? What is so formal about it? The first 2 points that you see on the slide over there, right, is pretty much copy paste from internet, quite honestly. But let's look at what is so formal about it. I'm sure pretty much the 200 plus people who are there in this event today have all gone to formal education. And what is so formal about education is that, and if you think about it, I think it basically underscores the different phrases that we have in point 1 and 2. There is authority, there is responsibility, there is a definitive outcome, there is a scope, there is a procedure in which your education is conducted, there is a flow. For example, your semesters or years or trimesters, whatever you go through, and it provides a clear definition at the end of it in terms of what you derive out of it in terms of a degree or a value that you actually put in over there. So that is about formal education. Put the same thing in terms of your communication. While you may have communications of different forms and kinds, this is something where it is through an established procedure. You have a responsibility, it comes out of an authority. And when I say authority, do not think that it's about superior subordinate relationships. Most of us live in apartments, and all our apartment complexes have a security guard standing in front, and that person has authority as well, for example. So it's not about positioning, it's about being in that role that provides a sense of authority for everyone. In simple terms, if I have to talk about formal communication, it is the exact opposite of how you would converse with your family and friends. I mean, if you are at the breakfast table with your parents, I'm sure none of us are going to say that, dear mother, can you please serve me 2 slices of bread? Dear father, hope you have actually enjoyed your tea and you are having a nice day. No, that's not how it is. And I'm not going to go into the different variations of how we speak with family and friends. But formal communication is the exact opposite, where it then goes into a professional phase. And I think that is what we need to understand, that formal communication tends to being professional in whatever roles that you are donning at that point in time. And let's take for a simple example, a college going person, and if you are walking on the road, you're a college student, you're in the metro or in the bus, or you're in a cab, you're standing by the coffee shop, you're a student. But what happens is, when you walk into another institution, when you walk into another educational institution, or when you walk into an organization for sponsorship of whatever sort, or when you walk into the organization for a job, then what happens is, all of a sudden you are representational of your own college. You're not just, let's say, Raghavan, you are actually Raghavan who belongs to this college, which means that you become representative of a larger institution. And that is where the formal communication comes into play, where you have a sense of responsibility, authority in terms of the role that you are playing. Now, why do we need formal education, sorry, formal communication, right? Number one, it's the global accepted norm. To be honest, there is no way out of it in terms of whatever things that we may be going to do, whatever career we may be going to take. And it is a common requisite, whether it is a startup up until an MNC, right? We tend to sort of relate formal communication only with MNCs or only when you have a professional career. No, it is any sort of career that you may have, and we'll shortly go into that. It creates a standard of communication. So when you are working across different people from different cultures, this kind of creates the standard, and it basically is the building blocks of character definition to a great extent. The 19th century American writer Mark Twain quoted, and I would like to quote him here. He said, "A man's character may be learned from the adjectives he habitually uses in a conversation." Yeah, today it definitely applies to man and woman, of course, but then it's about how you speak defines your character. So even though communication is something that we do day in and day out, formal communication then actually sets into a place where it starts defining who you are, and link this back to the virtual reality becoming the actual reality. Now, while we have seen the what and the why, I'm sure during these days we have to also answer another question, which has to be why me, right? So while we talk about the what's and the whys, it's about the why me. Why should I kind of do this? Why are 300 people actually in here today looking at this particular topic? And it is basically to have an effective career, whether it is a business, whether it is going to work, or whether it is fine arts, whatever field you're trying to go into, it is important. And it builds a relevant network, because when you have that communication skill, then it becomes easier for you to build networks, because you're able to speak in a way that people on the other side are able to understand very clearly. You are able to demarcate yourself from not being too casual. You become more formal in terms of what you're speaking. So talks great about your professionalism, and it starts spreading when they speak about you. There is a character in mind, there is a definition in mind in terms of how they would explain you. Helps you learn. This is the favorite part that I like, because I believe that life is all about learning, and learning never ends. And with formal communication, you learn a new dimension of communication altogether, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. The better the stronger your formal communication, the stronger the impact or the impression that you can create with somebody. And look, the world is full of opportunities, and let's look at the world after the pandemic. If you have a product, if you have a service, there are no boundaries that can be defined right now, because the world is full of opportunities. You can go wherever you want to go, sell your service, sell your product, and be able to sort of like make a very impactful career. And to do that, this formal communication becomes a common bridge. It's a bridge that you can use for various parts or various dimensions of your career that you are actually looking to sort of go into. So that is why rather why you are into this, why it is important for you, is because of these multiple various reasons. I mean, in my life as a trainer, right, I have seen that some people ask, "Sir, what is the use of this? I mean, I'm anyway going to go and manage my dad's business." But you know what? You are going through a particular skill enhancement or education enhancement in life, so that you can go back and take the business to the next level, right? And that is what I say why communication is important, because you're not going to go back and maintain status quo. I don't think that's going to help, even if it's your own family business, for example. And this helps, when you're strong in your communication, it helps sort of move to the next level. It increases your confidence. It really helps you sort of go and crack more deals, be able to explain things more clearly and in a way that actually helps and works for everyone. Now, it's about being prepared for that. I think that's what is very important. So what I'm going to do is go to the next slide, where, remember, until now we've seen what is formal communication, why we need formal communication, and why you for formal communication. Now, obviously, the next question is how. Now, in this how, I'm not going to go into the specifics. Again, go on the internet. You have things about what you need to do. How you sort of greet somebody, what you do. I'm not going to go into those specifics. But how do you prepare yourself? How do you train yourself to ensure that you are strong in this area? And that is what this last part of formal communication is going to cover. Now, number one, what you need is a mindset change, right? You got to be aware and be prepared. And this basically speaks to understanding where I am and who am I kind of interacting with? What is my environment? That is something that we see sometimes lacks to a great extent. In my previous life, again, when we used to have new joinees, we call them, who would be grads who would join the organization newly, they would sort of come into a massive organization, huge floors, and a lot of people sitting with two monitors, and they're sitting, and there would be a small moment where they have a little break when their trainer has stepped away for something, and they would look around, and suddenly their phone would ring, right? And it would be the most funniest ringtone of some sort of a song, which nobody wants to hear in a formal environment. So it's about having that mindset change when you go in to say that your phones have to go on silent. And that way, what I'm trying to say is your communication should change. I'm not saying that you have to be formal when it comes to your friends, but then you need to understand that if your friends are a part of a larger formal or professional environment, that takes more precedence than your friendship. So be aware, be prepared, change your mind. There is a switch in your mind that you need to be aware of. When you look at the environment around, you sort of, like switch in and switch back, whatever is required. Throw yourself out of the comfort zone, because this is probably the time you could afford to make some mistakes, but there will be a time 10 years from now in your career where you cannot make a mistake, right? And you will look really embarrassed when you're making such mistakes being in a formal environment. So the best thing to do is get out of your comfort zone, go into representational roles more frequently, because the more representational you are, the more the thought process of being formal in your communication sort of comes out. And like, find like-minded fun lovers. Not all of our friends would help each other in terms of trying to be formal. I mean, I know for sure, if you walk up to your friend and say that, hey macha, let us sort of have a formal discussion, and you just have to say that, and for the next 1 month you're the butt of every joke, right? Rather, you find out who are the people. They may not be your best friends, but there may be people with whom you could have a similar requirement or a similar thing that you could achieve together, and practice that with like-minded people, which will help you become better formal communicators. What is very important is, in communication, practice. And the more we practice, the better we are going to get in terms of being good at communication. All right, so that pretty much brings us to the end of first part of formal communication. And like, from here on comes the interactive part of it, where I have a small little game that we could play. And it is played on a one-on-one basis, so it cannot be like one versus 290, 300 people, so have some patience. So it is called the I game. Some of you may have played it, no doubt. But like, let us give it a quick try. What I'm going to do is explain the rules of this particular game, which I will do only once. I'm not going to do it twice. So please make note of these rules if you want to. And number two is that you have a surprise. So if anybody who can win this, they have a surprise gift that will find their way personally from me. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of eyebrows are going up now to see if we can do something here. Now the game, I'll quickly get to the rules, and then I will hand over to Vanshika to probably open up to see if we have participants. As I said, it has to be a one-on-one game. So whoever is going to play with me, their audio will be unmuted, and it will only be the two of us who will play this. Very simple, the game is. It's all about you having a conversation with me for 2 minutes. Simple. And we are not going to talk about rocket science or anything. It's just a simple conversation the two of us will have, but under certain guidelines, under certain rules that have to be strictly followed. There are 6 rules that you have to follow. Please make a note of these 6 rules. Number 1, as the name goes over there, you cannot use the word I in the conversation. I am, I would, no I of any sort. Number 2, no one word answers. You cannot give me any one word answers. It has to be a proper sentence when you respond. No fillers like yeah, none of these fillers. Your answer has to be coming in 5 seconds. We are not turning a communication class into a meditation class. So I ask the question and you can't go into deep meditation. Maximum of 5 seconds, a response has to come back. Answers have to be relevant to the question asked, which is the 5th rule, which means that if I ask you the question, did you have breakfast? You cannot say that my teddy bear is so cozy. Okay. Has to be relevant. And last is you cannot use a word more than 3 times. You cannot use any word more than 3 times. So these are the rules of the game. And as I said, it will be on a one-on-one basis. Basic conversation just for 2 minutes, not more than that, 120 seconds. And if you are able to have this conversation for 2 minutes by following all these rules, then we have a winner. And let's see who we have today. Over to you, Vanshika.
Great. So what we're going to do now is that I'm going to say open and y'all can raise your hand if y'all want to play. So whoever raises their hand first will get a chance to be unmuted. So great. We already have someone raising their hand. So I'm going to unmute them, Raghav. It is Avantika Singh from Presidency College. And Avantika, you've been unmuted.
Okay. Do we have Avantika online?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Avantika, would it be I mean, not a requirement, but would it be a problem if you switch on your video so that it's more interactive and real? If it's a problem, no problem. If it's a problem, don't mind. Be on audio. Just checking. Oh, there you go. Nice to see you, Avantika. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Great. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Shall we start?
We should go ahead.
No, don't worry. We've not started it. I'll say go and then we start. Okay. All right. So go. Start. Avantika, how is the morning today?
It's bright. The sky is blue.
The sky is blue. Excellent. So have you had breakfast?
Yes, I had burgers.
Had burgers. What sort of burger did you have, Avantika?
It was a patty, but then it was more like a sandwich.
Okay. And how would you rate the burger in a scale of 1 to 5?
Almost 8.
8. Okay. Why not? You don't want to give it a score better than 8?
Because it did not have cheese.
Okay. Okay. Look, one thing, right? I would say some words that which were used like it again and again and again, if you remember, right? I know this is a tough game, but then you use the word it more than 3 times.
Yes.
I kind of got you into going in over there. But great play. I think we went for a good 25-30 seconds. Excellent. Well done. Who's next, Vanshika?
So next we have Grishma from KSS EM.
Grishma.
I'm going to mute Avantika and unmute Grishma. She's been unmuted.
Okay. Do we have Grishma? Meditation, maybe? Oh, we do
No,
have.
sir, nothing like that.
There you go, Grishma. Again, same question as to Avantika. Is it okay to come on video, or you may be in a situation you don't want to? Whatever. Okay.
No, sir, nothing like that.
We have met Grishma, haven't we?
Yes, sir.
All right. Very nice
In
to
our
see you.
college.
Very nice to see you again. All right. So you know the rules. We probably played this once in KSCM also. I don't know. But let's give it a shot.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go. So how's your day today, Grishma?
It was fine starting with chapati as breakfast.
Okay. So your day started with chapati. So what is it going to end with? Quite curious.
Maybe like some non-veg item as
Okay.
dinner.
Non-veg item as dinner. So what are the other plans for the day?
Actually,
Hmm.
this was the plan of listening your speech.
Okay, but you know the word just came out, which is nothing but a filler. And you remember the rule number 3 was no fillers.
Yes, sir.
Right? Good try, Grishma. And
Thank
very
you.
happy to see you. And I thought this will be a very tough competition because I know Grishma and have been in some trainings together. So all the best, Grishma. Thanks for participating.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Anshika, do we have time for one more?
Yes, we do. So we're going to take on the next one, which is Shiv Kumar from RIMS.
Okay. So it's not all women power today. So we have a man who is participating. Glad.
He's been unmuted.
Thank you.
All right, Shiv Kumar. You want to come on video? Possible? Not possible?
No, sir.
That's fine. All of you don't imagine anything. Okay, stop it. All right, Shiv Kumar, we'll just start. Okay. Ready, Shiv Kumar?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, sure.
Don't worry, we've not started. Okay, on the word go. How are you, Shiv Kumar?
Feeling good?
Okay, 5 seconds, please remember that.
Sure, sir.
Where are you from?
I belong to Hassan.
I belong to Hassan. Okay. You know the that came. I belong to Hassan. I don't know if people heard that, but that was a filler there as well. Okay. But anyway,
Missed
great
the
try.
first rule.
Sorry.
Missed the first rule, actually. I used I.
Yeah, you missed the first rule as well, which I missed. Fantastic. Great sportsmanship. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for joining, Shiv Kumar.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Raga,
you.
we take one more.
One more? Okay. You just want to get my gift out to them, right? Don't you? All right, one more. Let's see who we have.
Bindu from Bangalore South.
Okay. Do we have Bindu online?
I have unmuted her, yes.
No. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, Bindu. So do we start?
Yes.
Excellent. Or in the word go. How are you, Bindu?
Good. It is good.
Good. One word answer. There you go. Clean bold. All right. Thanks a lot for participating, Bindu. Good try.
Yeah, thank you.
Look, guys, this is not about winning or not winning, okay? And you know, like the gift that I was speaking of is for real. And we've been going college after college trying to give it to somebody, and we've been quite unsuccessful till date. However, the point that I'm trying to make over here through this game, what are we learning is that when we have to communicate with certain standards, certain rules, or certain guidelines, it needs practice. Okay, it needs a lot of practice for you to be there, for you to get there. And that's the reason I would say that this particular game was all about understanding where we are, where we stand in this in our being able to practice. As Vanshika said in the beginning, right, she said that some of us think this is actually a cakewalk. We could very easily sort of write emails, we could very easily sort of have conversations. I mean, we go for when we go for certain conversations in colleges and we say come in formal wear, and people are like, we don't want to be in formal wear, yada yada. But when you go for an interview, and we see those people struggling to even sit because you're not used to what you're wearing, and that's sort of taking over your mind, and you know what's going to happen in the interview. So it requires practice of all sorts in terms of what you wear, what you are, and how you speak. And that's the reason this game was all about ensuring that we practice as much we can the communication process, formal communication. That is when you get better. All right, great. Now we'll go into the next part of the event today, which is the crux of today, which is email communication. All right. And again, talking about experiential learning that I have had from an email communication perspective. My life for 15 years has been pretty much writing emails in a formal environment. And I'm not exaggerating any of these, because when I started doing this, I thought, let me think back, go back to my life and think, what have I done? How many emails I would have written? What does it mean? So I've just had a small number, and you can do the math. So over a span of 15 years, it started as a very junior employee. And of course, when I left, I was a senior person in the organization. So when I look at the average of how many emails I would have written per day, the number came to about 300 emails a day. Not joking at all. And I'm sure, if I'm lying, Vanshika can definitely point out, because she's worked in the industry for some time. 300 emails a day. So we work only 20 days, to be honest, 20 to 22 days. So I'm taking the lower part, 20 days. So that is about 6,000 emails a month. And I'm not going to take 12 months into consideration. Let's say I don't work for 1 month in the year at all, vacation, sick, and all that nonsense. So 11 months in a year. So 6,000 emails a month, 11 months a year is how many emails a year? That's 66,000 emails a year. And 15 years, right? So that comes up to 990,000 emails. I just did the math, which means we are talking about 1 million emails that I have written over a span of 15 years. Yeah, I was shocked too at that. And then I understood it's only a conservative number I have taken. So the real number, I would probably faint. So that is how email has become an integral part of professional life, right? Let's understand that a lot of back and forth is happening on emails today. Earlier, when used to be mails, right? Not emails, but mails. You write something, put it in an envelope, send it to somebody, and then that person responds. It takes time, but now it all happens in seconds. So email is something which is used. I've written over here mostly for formal communication, but let's really look back, right? It's used only for formal communication as long as I'm aware. Because there used to be a time, maybe 20 years back, when a friend or a sibling goes to the US to study MS, and you write emails. Hi, how are you? What's happening, bro? Blah, 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 everything. Whatever you want, whatever nonsense you can write, because it's more informal. And then wait. People used to just keep staring at this game. When will it refresh? But you don't even understand the time zones are different. Finally, an email comes back as a response, and then it used to go back and forth. Today, is that what we need to do? Even your closest relative or anybody who is anywhere in this world, WhatsApp call, let alone WhatsApp call, you have video call also that you can do. So you don't even have to speak, you can see people. That is where it is. So that is where informal communication is. So where is formal communication? Predominantly on emails. And that is why getting this aspect of writing emails correctly is very important. Okay. So let's take a step back before we start email. Let's take a step back and understand conventional letter writing. And I just want to share with you how conventional writing was, because any technology enhancement is on something that has already existed. You remember that. And email or electronic mail was a technology enhancement on something that was there, which was the written mails, or what we call snail mail in today's world. So I'm going straight into that. Now, if there was a world of writing letters, this is how it would look, or this is how it looked in the past. This is a letter, and it's a hypothetical letter, not a real one, where we are actually writing an email to somebody else. I have certain areas marked as red, and I will go through them. and you may be able to relate to your email box when you open your inbox, or when you open your email, what do you see? That is what you would sort of like figure out over here. So on the left hand top corner, from. So as I said, they would put it in an envelope, send a letter out to somebody. Somebody tears open the letter. As soon as they open it, they need to see who is writing this mail to me or this letter to me. So that is very important. Who have I got the mail from? On the right hand side, you have the date and the place when you got when was this letter written and from where was it written. Come down on the left hand side, to, obviously, to who is this being addressed, because even if a letter got to you incorrectly on the envelope, at least when you open, you know whether it is to you or to somebody else. Then you go down, you have salutations, right? Respected sir, because, and if you link it up to who I'm writing to, I'm writing to a head of the Department of Mathematics in a university who also has a doctorate, by the way, to Dr. Satyaprasad. So respected sir is the salutations. And then we have the subject line, which is a simple one line, sentence. It does not go into paragraphs. Please note this, and it clearly states what it is all about. And then where, the text between the two red poles is the body of the email or body of the mail that you may call, where you start with greetings and then you come down to the end. You have the what you call the signature, where you end with kind regards, your name and who you are, right? Simply what it is. Now let's go into what this letter is all about. It is very simple. It is Raghavan from TSF India, who is inviting Dr. Satyaprasad from a university. And look at the subject. It is an invitation as a speaker to the annual Science and Technology Conclave. Simple, right? Things that are shouting out from there is invitation, speaker, annual Science and Technology Conclave. And then you look at the body of the mail. I'm talking about, it's the 5th Science and Technology Conclave. What is the dates? And as in last 3 years, we would be grateful for you to come to the occasion. And what is the topic on, which is the panel discussion. And let us know your availability. Looking forward to your response. Okay. So this is how a letter would pretty much look, a professional letter, which would have been written in the past. Now go into your, if you can, on your cell phone or on your laptop, when you look at your inbox, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, whatever it may be, you see some of these fields there. You see from whom the email has come. You see the subject line. You see the date, right? Because these are all, again, as I said, something that are replicated from what was written in the past. Okay. So those are some of the important parts of a letter, and we'll go into details as to how you kind of manage writing emails, right? That's what it is about. What are some of the important features you need to look at when you're writing an email? Number one, and most important today, define the audience. Understand who has to read your email. And in professional circles, if there are people who are working today, they'll know that this is a big menace today with email, because put in as many people as possible. Put in as many people. Put an add to the audience. And email has, we call now what is called email traffic. We can never get out of email traffic, because you just add just people, chaotically. But before you start writing an email, understand who the audience is. It's similar to when you're sort of going to give a presentation, you understand who your audience is first, then you define your presentation. Similarly, when you're writing an email, define the audience, understand the options very neatly, right? And what do I mean by options? When you open an email to write, you have the from field will be there if you are using multiple emails, so that it knows from which email it has to go out. But 3 important fields over there. 2, that is to whom you want to address the email. CC, I don't know how many of us know what CC means. It again goes back to conventional writing, and it means carbon copy. Okay. So back in the days when somebody else had to also be aware that this letter has been written to Dr. Satyaprasad, they would actually write with a carbon paper in between or a carbon sheet in between. So it creates a replica of the letter. And towards the bottom of that letter, they would have written CC to whoever it has to go to. Okay. That's exactly the same thing that you have in CC field in your Gmail or Yahoo Mail. So when will you use this field? You will use this field only when somebody else needs to be aware of this mail going to somebody who is intended to. For example, if that email where I am writing to Dr. Satyaprasad, Dr. Satyaprasad's email will be in the to field. In the CC field will be somebody from my organization who also needs to be aware that this email has gone out. Then the third field that is there is BCC, and BCC stands for blind carbon copy. What it technically means shortly is that when you put somebody in the BCC field, so let's say I email it to Dr. Satyaprasad, I put person A from my organization in the CC field, and I put somebody else, person B, in the BCC field. When the email reaches Dr. Satyaprasad, he will see that person A is also able to see the email, but he will not know that person B is actually seeing this email or is aware of this conversation. So to the extent possible, do not use this field at all. Why do we have it then? We have it for blast communications. What do I mean by blast communications? Where you have to send an email out for, let's say, participants. Now, let's say Rotaract, for example, and there are multiple clubs maybe. And when you have to send the same message to everybody, right? It's not to one particular person, it's not to one particular group, it's the same message, standard message, but to everybody. You put it in a blast email, you put everybody in BCC, because if anybody responds from that, it will only come to the sender of the email. So if I put, let's say, 290 plus participants today, if I write an email to all of you and I put you all in the BCC field, and let's say Girishma responds, only I will be able to see the response, not the other 290 people who are there on that email. Now, why we have to do this? I'll tell you one thing that happened really, right? When you are working in large organizations, there are blast emails that are sent out. And there was this one person, unfortunately, instead of writing an email, he wrote an email to 3,000 people. Remember, 3,000 people. And they create distribution lists. So it's not like he's typing in all 3,000 names. He, instead of putting them in BCC, he put them in the to field by mistake. Now, you won't believe, for the chain of emails to stop, it took us 4 days. And I'm not joking, because everyone is coming back and they are in different time zones, and everyone is like, why is everybody coming back? Everybody's problem, why everyone has to know. It was chaos. And you won't believe what chaos is, because when you manage your inbox and you see a lot of nonsense going back and forth, you really get irritated. So be very careful using the BCC field. Okay. So that's about understanding options. Subject line, very impactful. That's the most important thing. Your subject line is going to define whether the person is going to go down and read the email at all or not. Okay. If you remember, the subject line for that letter that I had was very simple, right? There are certain things, as I said, were shouting out over there. And it's not a long sentence. It has to be only one small sentence, crisp but impactful. Then comes your salutations, right? Understand whom you're writing the email to. I've seen some emails where the email is sent to, let's say, Kiran Mazumdar. I'm just making it up. And Kiran, is a name that can be applicable for male and female. Now, you don't know whether it is male or female, and you say, dear sir / madam. That's the most horrible way of responding somebody. It's like, dear sir, madam, you figure out whether you're a male or a female. This is what I have to say. Do not use that, right? What you have to do in salutations is understand. If you don't know whether the person is not, you can say you have the second name. Use the second name, but with the right salutations, right? So like, dear Mr. Iyer, dear Mr. or dear Miss Mazumdar. If you don't know the person whom you are writing to, you can just say hello. Okay. Another important thing when you have your salutations, hi is not the right way of starting an email unless you know the person very well personally, right? Otherwise, do not start your salutations with hi. You can start with hello. You can start with dear, first name. For example, dear Raghavan is okay, but dear Veera is not okay. It has to be dear Mr. Veera. Okay. second name always has to be with the salutation of Mr., Miss, Mrs., Doctor, whatever it may be. Okay. Then the critical body. Do not write very long emails, right? Be very crisp. If you're writing an email with your resume attached, ensure that you're saying who you are, a quick introduction, saying this is what you find attached, and looking forward to something. If you're looking forward to a response, say you're looking forward to a response in a nice way. If you go back to this, if you look at this, the second paragraph in the body, which is a single line, which says, we look forward to a positive response and thrilled to have you back at the conclave. I'm not going too overboard to say that, oh, we are so desperate to have you in the conclave. At the same time, I'm maintaining my professionalism. And I'm also saying I'm looking forward to a response. And also, if you see, I'm saying as in the last 3 years, we would be grateful for you to grace the occasion as a speaker. Now, I am not saying that since you've come the last 3 years, Macha, you know what it is, so please come. No, right? I'm saying that as in the last 3 years, so I'm refreshing memory in a professional way, formally, rather than just saying, you know what happened, so please come. Okay, that's the other thing that you need to be aware of. So that's from this body perspective. And finally, have a signature. We have seen emails where emails come and in the end it is over. So I keep reading and blah, it ends, right? Warm regards, kind regards, thank you, your name. And then if you have a designation, only if you have a designation and if you are writing that email with the authority, write that designation and your cell phone number. That I think is sufficient for today. You don't need the long addresses of first cross, second lane, third main, all those things. Okay. So just your warm regards, Raghavan, Director TSF, Bangalore, phone number. Over. But have a signature. It provides a beautiful end to what you have written. So that's about the important features of the email that we have to look forward to. Then now the most important thing, the last part I want to go through is in terms of email sanity thoughts. And these are some of the disasters that we have seen based on which we have put this, which you need to be aware of. Remember, today email is, when you are writing, is used predominantly for professional purposes only, not for informal communication. You have a lot of other ways and means. You may still be using it, I'm not saying no, but the mail ID, right, bellachow@gmail.com only means that you are a fan of Money Heist. Doesn't mean anything more to me, doesn't interest me at all in the first place. Okay, rcb2kill@gmail.com. If I am somebody who's recruiting, I know this guy or this person is not going to be productive when IPL starts. And if RCB loses, then even worse. So I don't have the time to track that. So we've seen flowering tree at yahoo.com. So which season do you flower? So your mail ID typically has to be your name, as simple as that. Keep it. And if you're not able to get your name, that's absolutely understood. You will look at different options that are possible. Do not use numericals in your name. So for example, raghav to veera@gmail.com. No. Use something very simple, which should be only your name. That's about it to the extent possible. If you're not able to get something which is very close, and I would be surprised if you don't, but if not, there is a username concept that is there when you actually set up your email. Ensure that you have your full name in that username. I've seen some people have their nicknames, Pinky, Tommy, and all those things in username. It looks embarrassing, to be honest, that I have to read an email from Tommy. Okay, with due respect to everyone, but does not provide the sense of professionalism. When you're writing emails, and let's say you have to write a long email, as a senior manager, when an email comes to my inbox, I open the email, the subject line may be impactful. As soon as I see a long email, sorry, I'm not reading it now, I'm reading it later. Remember, the attention span of human beings is somewhere between 3 to 6 seconds. That's about it, not more than that. So you have to grab the attention as soon as they start reading your email. So if you have to start writing longer emails, use bullet points, condense what you're writing. Do not write long stories, or use attachments. If there is something, a drawing, or there is something that you want to explain in detail, put it in an attachment and give a brief of what it is. And then you sort of, say that for further details, look into the attachment. So they know the longer story is in the attachment. Check the audience. Again, going back to the first point that we saw in the last slide, on a need to know basis. Do not copy all possible people, that have to be there when you're writing an email. Only on a need to know basis, people need to receive emails. Read your email before you send. We tell this for resumes also. Read your resume before you walk into the interview. Similarly, read your email before you send, because you never know what you've written. You may have taken a long time to write the email. Read it and see whether it works the way it has to. Is it sounding the way it should have? Okay. And I've said read the above point again, because this is the fulcrum of writing emails. People do not read emails. Okay. And it creates a lot of mess. We have had unfortunate experiences, because in the world of investment banking, clients are very important. Confidentiality is important. Urgency. 300 emails a day. And let's say you had to send an email to person A with their financial statement, and you actually sent it to person B. You've written it to person B, and then you're addressing person A over there, and then the entire email done, send. And immediately after you send, you'll know you've made a blunder, and that causes a lot of pain, because you have shared somebody's personal information with somebody whom you should not, and that could have a lot of dire consequences. So read your entire email before you send it. Do the spell checks, do the grammar checks. Do not leave it to the auto spell check to do everything. Very funny, right? And embarrassing. There was a colleague of mine whose name was Hari, and you try spell checking Hari. If you leave Hari on spell check, it turns it to hair, unfortunately. He got an email once saying hi hair, and he said, I'm never going to respond to this person ever in my life. So do not, be careful using your spell checks and grammar checks, but do them. Do them to ensure that you don't have any spell checks, you don't have any grammar checks as such, or grammar mistakes as such. And lastly, very important, which a lot of us don't do, is our inbox is pretty much a virtual dustbin, if I may say. Even though a lot of email service providers have split it into promotions and other things, your inbox, your primary inbox, remains as a big virtual dump of garbage. And I'm using strong words, unfortunately, because we've seen where companies send out emails and we see no response. And then when we contact, they're like, "Oh, you sent an email?" That's the most unprofessional way of talking. When they say, "Oh, you sent an email," then why do you have an email if you don't look at your email at all? So clean your inbox, delete, unsubscribe to things that you don't want to see, so that you are able to manage the flow of emails that are coming and going, especially when you start going into the professional phase. Remember a few things, right? Whatever is on the internet is available for everyone to see, and I'm not here to scare anybody. But what if any email that you write make the headlines tomorrow in Times of India or any other paper? And it has happened. If you go back and look at some of the events in the past, especially in the 2008 financial crisis, there were emails that were written in organizations that actually went on the newspaper and was very embarrassing for the organization. When you are writing an email, you represent that organization, you represent that institution. Well, I'm writing from my own Gmail. Well, you represent yourself, so you need to know how you actually come across of yourself. So when you read it, right, think about how does it look like when it comes back to me. How would it be if I am receiving this email? And that's the best way of ensuring that you write very good emails. I know it has been a lot of information, but all relevant information today. And as I said, practice is what is required for us to really go into ensuring that we put what we've learned into practice in some form or shape immediately. Okay. So that's about email writing that I had. I don't know if I'm over time, but I would like to hand over to Vanshika now. Do we go into the exercise, Vanshika? How do we take it from there?
We could. Before that, I think we'll answer questions, Raghav, so that when they do the assignment, or rather when they do the activity, they are aware of, if they have any doubts, they can clear it. But just to add to your point that you just mentioned, and it is just so relevant today, because we did get a lot of messages where people said that they didn't get emails. Of course, we had their emails, and we've sent out, the participation details to everyone, and only 2 bounced back. And when the 2 bounced back, we got in touch with them as well. So when you mentioned that they should check their emails, because they can't, answer to anyone who calls them and, did you check your emails? It's very important, because they came back to us saying that we didn't get an email. And I was like, that's not possible because you wrote your email in the submission form and we've sent it out and it didn't bounce back. So you've got an email. It's just that you haven't checked.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so relevant. And I think after this, they realize that I'm not saying check it every minute of your life, but at least check it like once in a day before you, when you wake up or when you're going to sleep or during your working hours, anything, but at least check your emails because it's really, really important. With this, we'll take a couple of questions. There is Varsha who has a doubt and she'd like to clear. And also, let me tell you, Raghav, while you were giving the session, there were a lot of people posting about the kind of names they had for their email IDs back in college or school.
Okay.
So fun names, So that was interesting. So Varsha, why don't you, can you raise your hand so I can see you and then we can sort of unmute you? Or if you can post your question in the chat box, it'll be great. It'll help for quick delivery. Even Ritik, can you just post your question? It'll be easy for us to do this. Okay, so we have one question. Could you clarify what my salutation should be when I don't know if who is the person I'm addressing to, sir or madam?
My first question, I'm sorry, I'm asking a question back. If you don't have a name, and let's say you're writing to, let's say, the principal or somebody of that sort, and you don't know whether the person is, then that is okay to say respected sir or madam, because you don't know who it is. Or you could simply start with hello. Hello in the international terms of professionalism is more professional. Hi is not usable, right? So you could use with hello, or if you know, or make an effort. Now it's not, in the world we are in today, to be honest, it's not very difficult for us to find out. Bring on your social media skills, right? When you know somebody, you try to get all information possible, right? It's not very difficult to understand whom you're writing to, whether it's a person who's got a doctorate, not a doctorate, professor, or whatever they are, male, female, everything. So just, I don't think it'll take you more than a minute to find out what that is. But if you don't know, and if you're writing to somebody, you can use respected sir or madam, as long as the email address is very clearly talking about an inbox, like reach to us at whatever.com, or like principal at whatever.com, then that is fine. And if you don't know, but how long is it going to take for us to find out who is the principal? And I think that will make your email much more stronger. So that is what I would advise, to take some effort, because then that demonstrates your character to a great extent as well, virtually.
Okay, so that was on point, Raghav. That really does make sense because yes, we live in this day and age, and we're such social media spies for everything that's needed. So I think even when it comes to this, we can do that. So there was a good response on this question. If you don't know who you're writing to and it's a mailbox, can you mention to whomsoever it may concern?
No. Well, the whomsoever it may concern is more of a certificate that is being given to. If I open an email and it says, let's say you're writing to a box, and there may be 10 people who are managing the box. So let's say you say to whomsoever it may concern. I am one of the 10 people who is looking up the email. I open it to whomsoever it may concern. I look around. There are 9 people, man. They will take care of it. And imagine all the 10 people do the same thing. So in electronic email, which means your email is not even going to whomsoever it may concern, right? It is not even, nobody is concerned about it. So whomsoever may concern used to be used in the conventional space. Today it is used predominantly for certifications that are given, because you use your certifications, or you use your relieving letters, your letters from your college or whatever it may be, to multiple people. Or banks may issue letters which can be used anywhere else. So whomsoever it may concern is okay. But if you're writing to a box, start with hello. As simple as that, right? That would be more useful. If you say whomsoever it may concern, chances of what I said is more to happen, to be honest.
Okay. And I think it's true because I don't get a reply to a lot of emails that I write because I do use to whomsoever it may concern sometimes, especially when I'm writing to customer cares, like those email IDs which are customer care generic.
Yeah.
I usually say to whomsoever it may concern, because you don't know who you're writing to. So now I know I don't get response.
Good.
Okay,
Again,
so if
go back to the point where, the last point on my presentation, what will you think if you are receiving the email? And as soon as you told me whomsoever it may concern, I thought there may be other people who are concerned. So read your email as though you're reading from the other person's perspective who's receiving it. And then you will automatically make changes.
okay, so if you're writing to an editor, can you just say respected editor?
Yes, you can.
Okay. The next question is, okay, I think we'll have to take this offline, but I'll just mention the question to you. Is it possible to change our email ID? Because I have multiple email IDs and it will be a mess if I create a new one. I mean, you know how back in school we might have just some random name and you want to change it now, but I don't think that's really possible in my technological knowledge. But
First question is, it looks a little fishy. Why do you have so many email addresses? Right? But then, I mean, just jokes apart, go with one email address. Even if you had multiple email addresses till date and it may create chaos, for professional reasons, maybe have one email ID. And now I'm not telling all of you, all 300 of you, to say create new email addresses. It's about channelizing your email for the right things, right? For example, I have only one email address and it's going to be there forever. And it has been there for a long time as well. Have I had other email addresses in the past? I definitely have had also. But then you finally kind of set in, and I think the earlier you set into the rhythm, the better. So what I would say is, if you have multiple email IDs, try to kind of reduce. I think it's already chaotic if you have multiple email IDs, because you may give one to somebody and you may thought you have given the other one, and you may be expecting a response there, and then it comes here. It's already a mess. So I would say limit the number of email addresses you want to have.
great. So this question, Raga, makes a lot of sense. I think this is very important for us to take it up. The question is that if I've written an email to someone and they respond back, or rather if they write an email and I have to respond back, do I have to follow the same format that you just suggested to write an email when it's just a response, like a conversation within the email?
Yeah, when you so remember a couple of things, right? When you respond, one, actually you're reading the email and go back. So again, start with the salutations, dear whoever it is, right? Either with their second name, which means dear Mr. or Miss somebody, or dear first name. I think that salutations definitely will remain as is. The body of the email, of course, will depend on what the question is. Keep it as simple as possible. Again, do not write long stories, and do not add people unless and until it is necessary. I think when you reply onto an email, do not add more people. Just hit reply. Only the person who sent you the email needs a response back. So do not try to add people or do anything of that sort, either in CC, BCC, or whatever it may be. I don't think that is sanity. And I hope that answers the question. So salutations will still remain. You won't change the subject line, because the subject line is what you received, and the body will depend on what it has come. The signature will also be required. And today in electronic mail, it's very simple. You just create a signature and you go to the settings and you say that applicable for all emails. Then it is there. You don't have to keep doing it again and again. One thing that I would say is, if there is a conversation, which mostly is not happening that way, but remember for future purposes, if it's a lot of back and forth on emails, pick up the phone and talk. I think that's the one thing that I would say. I may be digressing, but do not encourage a lot of, a long thread of email communication, because then the topic is lost of what we are speaking. So try to finish it off on a call in that case.
I mean, to this, I would like to add that we're talking about professional emails. So we're talking about professional conversations. If you're having a conversation with your friend, family, you don't have to adhere to these guidelines. So when we're saying that when you reply back, you still need to add a salutation, it's because it's just a way of respect that you give to the other person when they read your email. So if I just start off with a line of, if I had to reply saying, oh, thank you so much for that information, it's nice to say that, but if I at the same time if I said hello Ruhi, thank you so much for that information, it just adds a lot of respect when she's reading that email on the other side. So it's about how you communicate is how people will perceive you to be. The next question, I don't think it needs a response. I'm going to read it out loud for everyone. because I've gotten it privately, and I think you all will know the answer to this. I type very fast, and I constantly look at my keyboard, and I don't look at my screen. So I'm in the and I have this habit while I'm writing. Tell me how to avoid that. There is absolutely no way you can avoid this. If you look at your keyboard and type, that is totally okay, because no one needs, you don't have to look at your screen and type. But before you send it out, please reread it. So it's not about looking at the screen when you're typing, and you could be a very fast typer, that's totally okay, but you have to reread your email before you send it out. That's the most important point. Okay. Okay, during a personal interview, when a question is asked about ourselves, it is quite common that we use I to describe ourselves. Why did you specify not to use I, Raghav, in your activity?
Well, the activity was designed in such a way, so it was not an interview question. It is more about being self-conscious about what we speak. And I is very difficult to avoid, no doubt about it. And that's why it's called the I game also. And you see how the I was quite significant in that slide as well. Don't kind of connect that to interviews. Of course, when an interview comes, it's about you. But that game was more about, thinking as you speak, and that I think is very important when you're in a formal communication process. So it was only an activity to ensure that your mind starts engaging into practice of being aware of what we are speaking, because we've seen a lot of cases where people are in a professional environment and they open their mouth and they are embarrassed, and not on purpose, and you may think, oh, this does this really happen, and I can write a book probably of all that has happened. But then, it's about ensuring that we think before we speak. We are aware. We are in the conversation. That is what matters in formal communication.
So the next question is, my email ID is Captain Andrew 214. Is that okay for an if I'm representing an institution or a company? No.
Company, no. Institution, probably not, because you're not the captain of your institution. Andrew is a nice name. Look, don't take it personally, right? But I think keep it to your first name, second name. That I think is the most ideal of having an email ID.
Okay, so our next question, I think this is going to be very useful. What is the order of the email ID to be used when I'm writing an email to different people and not using BCC?
Okay, so I would say start with who you're addressing the email to. If you're addressing the email to a particular person, I think that person has to be there. If you're addressing to many people, go based on hierarchy if one exists. If there is no hierarchy that exists or you're not aware of, but you want three people to be aware that this email goes to all three of them, use alphabetical orders.
That totally makes sense. You need to know who you're writing to and who you want a response from. So that should always be the first one. And even if you're not
sorry to bother, Vanshika.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're writing to, let's say you're writing to one person and you want two other people to be aware of, put them in the CC field, because if you put all three, and let's say you address saying hello, please respond, again goes back to the whomsoever it concerns. Because if I'm on the email and I see two other people, and trust me, I have done that also, I am be like, let those two respond, I'm not responding to it. And the other two also think exactly the same way. We are beautiful human beings. So think the same way, and the email just doesn't get responded. So be very specific whom you're addressing it to.
The next question is it okay to reveal your identity in your email address? Of course, your email ID itself should give away your identity, but I'm not too sure what you mean by identity. No one's asking you to reveal your age, gender. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what the identity word means here, so we'll skip and move to the next. Yeah, I mean, you've already answered the question for yourself, Amrut, that if you don't know if it's a male or a female, you can just say hello. That's totally okay. Okay, we've got a lot of thank yous for the session. Apart from that, Okay, there are a lot of emails that someone has seen with the use of p.s at the end of the email.
At the end of the email, okay, body of the email, yeah. It basically is about getting attention. It says please see. PS stands for please see. Some people say note, and they bold it, italics, whatever. So it's about bringing attention to something. So you write an email, whatever, and then you say please see. They refer to the attachment for more details. For example, they would write that. Pretty conventional. I wouldn't say it is definitely required, but PS stands for please see. So getting more attention.
Yeah, I'm sure you all have seen that even in our text messages, when we want to imply something, we always put it at the bottom and then put it in bold and then say p.s so that you all concentrate on that. Raghav, we'll move on to to the assignment. We do have a couple of more questions. So what we'll do is we'll introduce the assignment and let them write, the ones who are writing it, and then we'll take up the questions in that duration that we give them to write the assignment.
Okay. Sure, time is the essence of everything. So guys, great questions, by the way. I really am happy that we are all engaged in this topic, which and we are learning something. As I said, that is what is the crux of this entire session. Now let's put some things into practice that we've already learned. Okay, and here is a quick exercise for you. It is very simple. It's out over there, and I'm not saying you have to write it in the conventional letter format. But what's very important is maybe you just write an email with a subject line, who you'll address. If you'll put somebody in copy, write that also use it in the body of the email only for this assignment purpose, or this exercise purpose, sorry. The topic is very simple. You want the vice president of a leading FMCG, which stands for fast moving consumer goods company, to be a guest at your institution for an intercollegiate fest. You try reaching her, and the personal assistant says the best shot to impress is write an email directly. So the person is somebody who is email freak. So the best shot to reach out to them is write an email. Otherwise, you're not going to see them in person. So here is your chance to write an email, to invite somebody, and it's about impressing them also so that they respond to your email, to a VP of a leading FMCG company to be a guest at your institution. I hope it is clear. And Vanshika, I want to take it from here.
Yeah, so I've mentioned on the mailbox already the email ID that they need to write the email to. You will be given exactly 4 minutes. Take your time. There is absolutely no rush. We will not be able to discuss all emails. So please remember that. We will only take up the top 3 emails that we receive that we feel needs attention. And so it'll be best if you write, if you feel like you can and have the sense of the time right now. Don't jump into it. Don't send out the email in a rush. Just understand what needs to be done and start writing the email. You don't have to send it out if you've already started discussing it. You will rather get inputs from Raghav on how you can make it better. So whoever can write the email or wishes to write the email, please write the email. We will not be able to discuss all of them, but we look forward to seeing at least top 3 emails that we can discuss right now. And while some of them are writing the emails, we'll still go on and take up a couple of questions. They are very generic in nature and simple to understand. So I don't think the others will miss out on it a lot.
Vamshika, just a second. They have a question about the email that you announced just now. Could you repeat it once?
Oh, sure. So the topic is on your screen. The topic is you want the VP of a leading FMCG company to be a guest at your institution for an intercollegiate fest. You try reaching her, and the personal assistant says that the best shot to impress is by writing an email directly. That's the topic. You need to send your email to the email ID mentioned. That's the professional development email ID that's mentioned in the group chat. I will post it again if you've missed. The topic is on your screen. The email ID is also on the group chat. Raj has posted it. Thank you so much, Raj. And like Raj said, there is an interesting announcement in the end, and you will have to wait till the end because I'm sure a lot of y'all would want to get the participation certificate. So for that, you have an assessment that needs to be completed. So stick on till the end. I'm hoping y'all are enjoying the session. So Raghav, we'll take up a couple of questions. They're easy. So can we use short forms in an email, even if it's not been done on purpose, but by mistake, because you're in the habit of it? And if you type R as ARE as R, and it's gone like that, is it professionally conversational?
Big no-no. And that's why I started off the presentation, if you remember, saying that we've had a huge impact of social media, and you need to start practicing, switching on and switching off from that. We've seen that happen, right? And as I said, whatever you write on the internet is available for everyone. That goes for organizations also. And we have seen where people in organizations, they have an internal WhatsApp. Most of the organizations have it, and there also professionalism has to be used. There also you can't use R instead of ARE, the letter U for YOU, because it is not professionalism, it is not formal. And I understand that we've gotten so used to doing it that way, so it comes very naturally, short forms. So practice, right? Write emails where, write certain things where you have using the proper words. That's the only way out for you to, and it comes off. To be honest, it's not like it's going to take you decades to get there. I think 1 or 2 days of practicing, then your mind starts understanding, right? Your mind starts understanding that, oh, I need to make 2 compartments, one for informal, one for formal, and it starts sort of resonating with your thoughts. So practice.
Also, Raghav, would you suggest that if they bring this or make this a habit in their daily routine, you know what I mean? Like even when you're talking to people or texting them on WhatsApp or even text message, if you stop using the short forms, then it becomes easy to imbibe the whole process of it, right? I mean, if you stop from the very.
Well, it does, but we have moved from short forms to emoticons right now, so you don't even have to respond with short forms. LOL is also now you have an emoticon for that, so, or emojis for that. So yes, that's good practice, at least to begin with. So today you had this session, you understand that there are certain unlearnings that have to happen. Why don't you try it for a week? Try to push yourself to, when you're chatting, somebody's chat with like the proper words that have to be used, and over a week's time you will understand that how it is, how your mind is trying to kind of get through it. And then after that, once you're used to it, then you can start doing both. So we don't believe in ourselves that we can do both. You just need to believe in that, but you need to practice this for a week, 2 weeks, until you're completely comfortable with that. Then you can sort of like use it. So now, no harm at all to what Vanshika is saying, that you use it in daily life. It becomes easy practice. You don't have to consciously take time and practice it. So use it and it becomes very helpful.
Also, when we're doing the session right now, I would like to highlight to all the participants that we don't want you all to just follow this when you write emails on behalf of your institution or college. Also, try to imbibe this when you're writing emails to your Rotaract community, by which I mean that even if you're writing this email to another Rotaract club, or if you're submitting your reports or anything, just about anything, even if you're writing to the DRR or anyone at all, just try to follow all that we've mentioned, because from my past experience as the ZRR last year, I can easily say that there were times that I would go back to the president secretaries of that term and tell them that the email is fine, I understood because I tried to understand, but if you wrote it to someone else, they wouldn't be able to understand. And it did take me time to understand. So it's just nice to have these practices put in place from now itself, rather than wait when you get the opportunity to write, because it helps you to learn. And like, I mean, none of us came learned into this, right? So we've all developed the skill over a period of time. So you will learn to write emails if you constantly write emails in a specified format. So it's great to keep writing emails. Raghav, one more question that we can take from here that I see. What if I'm writing an email and there's a conversation going back and forth, and then I really want to get someone's attention, but the subject line is the same and there has been no response on it or no action on it. So then how do I get attention?
There are two ways of doing it. The common way that is being done is where you, or let's say there are three ways of doing it. One is, you add attention in the beginning of the subject line, or you mark urgent in capitals, asterisk, 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 urgent, asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So that way you're bringing more focus onto it. But people have done it for so long now, anything urgent is not really deemed that urgent. If you want to really get attention and it's a long email chain, a better method is start a new email and say that this is in reference to the long email chain that is going on. And in that subject line, you can bring attention because it's a new email and it is saying super urgent, priority, top priority, whatever those words, phrases you can use. Because that what happens is that time it's a fresh email and we know we are relating to something, and you can be more specific on the body of the email on to why this is so important, why this is so urgent, and you get the attention of whoever you have to get to. Third way of doing it is get out of the email conundrum itself. Pick up the phone, talk to whoever you have to talk to them about how this is becoming a long chain and the essence of what we are discussing is being lost, and figure out a way. Okay, how do we do this? Do we get on a conference call, get this sorted, and start on a fresh email, or do we start a fresh email? What do we do? Or can you just resolve this so that we don't have to keep going back and forth? That's a third way of doing it as well.
Okay, so the last question, Raghav, for today. So how do we respond to emails when someone has introduced us to another person? Do we respond back to all, or just the person who we have to talk to?
Depends on the scenario, to be honest. But let's say, so person A has introduced you to person B, and they say that this is blah blah blah, whatever. It depends on once the introduction is over, and if you feel that it's going to be a long email chain, then you probably respond, including that person who introduced you, but put them on BCC. Then what happens is, yes, they don't have, once they are on BCC, they know that it has happened, that you two have connected, and like you will take it forward. If there is an email that the person whom you have been introduced to responds, then the other person is not bothered. Then it becomes a conversation only between you two. Just to be clear, I'll just give an example, and I'm sorry I'm taking some names, right? So let's say if Bindu has introduced me to Vanshika and on an email, what I do is I respond on the email, I go back to Vanshika, and I put Bindu on BCC. So what happens is Bindu knows now that Vanshika and Raghavan have connected with each other. And when Vanshika responds, it's more for me, not for Bindu. So, that trail keeps going. So you have done an FYI that, yes, thank you for connecting, and we have connected as well. And then you keep going.
Okay, so Raghav, we've received emails. I think I'll just share my screen now and I'll take you through the emails that we've received. Just to highlight to someone mentioned that if I've sent a wrong email, can that be rectified later? So I think some of the companies do have this option when you can recall, but that's limited to how, if you're using Outlook one. I don't know if the same options are applicable on Gmail or any other messenger. Even if they are, you can only recall till a certain time limit that's been given. Also, that feature should be, like that feature needs to be available on the receiver's end as well. Only then can you recall the email. It's okay if you sent a wrong email. Until unless it's completely absurd, then it's okay. You can just say ignore this and move forward, but it really depends on what email we're talking about here. So
also never ever rely on this feature. Never.
Doesn't work.
Always do this other thing that Vamshika told. In case if there is an absurd email that goes out, just tell that, hey, just ignore, something like that. Just probably don't fall back on apologizing and just write a new email. That's it. Because that feature of recalling email 9 out of 10 times might not work, and you might end up thinking that it worked, and it'll just, because we have had cases where some of my employees had thought that it was recalled. In my previous company, so I would not highly recommend even thinking about this option. Like, don't think about it. Think that this doesn't exist in the world. Please. Sorry for interrupting.
no, that's okay. I'm not saying it's 100% short, but you can always try and recall, but still go ahead and send the kindly ignore message. Do put that forward. Okay, so Raghav, I'm sharing my screen now, which will ensure that you stop sharing your screen. And here is our first email. Is everyone being able to see my screen? Are you being able to see my screen, Raghav?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay.
So do we go?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Invitation for intercollegiate fest. Okay, Shreyas, good attempt. And let me just go through certain things that could be fine-tuned. One is invitation for the intercollegiate fest, and you see you're writing it from your personal email address, right? So I think you could make the subject line a little more stronger. Which college are we talking about, right? Even if you say ABC for this purpose, so the person knows that it's coming from the institution, and it could help them recollect something from their memory about the institution if they are aware of. Who knows, this person may have studied there. So rather, if you say just an invitation for the intercollegiate fest, I'm probably not going to be so interested, because the first thought is going to be, it's going to be a use of my time, and do I have the time to go there? So college name would help. Invitation, yes, but for what? I think some specifics over there would help. Maybe as a judge, maybe as a guest, maybe as a guest speaker, chief guest, what it is. I think that will sort of help a little. Salutations. When you say respected vice president, it's more of, in professional terms, you are respecting the title, not the person. That's how it is being viewed is in professional forums, right? Respected. So one thing is, find out the name. You will have the name, and you can actually give that name over there if there is one. Respected is still okay. Dear would also be okay. And again, be aware of whether you're using the first name or second name. Second name, it comes with salutations. The body of the email is good, but I would say you could make it a little more stronger. So let me say where it is a little vague, right? This mail is an invitation for the intercollegiate fest that is being conducted soon. Soon is very vague. How soon is soon for you versus me? So that would be more specific. And I think start with things like because you're writing to somebody who's there, so introduce yourself first. I am Shreyas Kulkarni, who is this year's student at this. It gives me great pleasure to reach out to a successful like professional, and invite you for the fest name in our college name on this date. These are the requirements that we are looking for, and also talk about how it would be really great. Use adjectives in terms of how phenomenal it will be for that person to be there, and then hoping for your reply. That's perfect. You're kind of closing it by saying that you're expecting a response. The signature is also fine. I'm sure you may have probably done it for purposes now because it's being shared. Of course, I'm sure you would have thought about putting your number there as well, in a real sense. But the signature looks perfect to me. Vanshika, anything you want to add?
Well, it looks fine. I think I'll share an email with you, and I think that answers a couple of questions. I mean, a couple of suggestions that you just mentioned, because it's in the email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a little more detailed. And I represent ABC College. I has to be capitals always. Please remember that, even if it is coming in between a sentence, not only when it starts. Yeah, you represent for mass communication. Fine, I would agree.
anything add here or?
No, this is sort of a lot more specific. I think the subject line again, try to make it a little more specific. I think, and in your body of the email, maybe a second paragraph as to how it will be, how you will be happy. How does it help you versus why should that person be coming? So get a little creative also while you guys are writing the emails, right? What benefit is the person going to get? Why should I go for a college fest if I'm a VP, right? So you need to sort of hit those chords. Of course, I know we are doing this in a very time pressured environment, but if you think through and you write, I'm sure this is great, Arjun, to start with, and I think it'll get better, definitely.
There's one more email that I'll share with you. I think you may like the content of it. Received so many emails that it's sort of. Can you hear me?
Sorry, Vanshika, voice is echoing a bit. I don't know if it's only me. I'm not able to see the subject line per se. Maybe you scroll up a little, I should be able to see it. Great. Okay. I think you went to a different email.
It's not making it easy for me to share. I think we'll take this as the last email because I'm not being able to scroll through the emails.
No problem. No problem. Again, hello. That's a nice way of getting there or starting a conversation. Hello, ma'am. I'm very happy with this because one of the things that I'd squeezed into that was, and this is more stereotyping, right? When you say VP or anything, your memory sort of most of the times pops out a male image. And if you look at the exercise that I had given, I had said reaching out to her. And I like that Gautam has actually picked up on some of the attention to detail. Hello, ma'am. Yes, I'm Gautam from FEST coordinator. Yeah, make your sentences a little more readable. I would say you could probably expand a little bit by saying, I am Gautam Dikshit, a student of this college and also a FEST coordinator. It gives me great pleasure that my institution is conducting a national level collegiate fest on 30th July, J Capital. On behalf of my institution, not just behalf of the institution, on behalf of my institution, I am inviting, you can add a little more adjectives, right? It gives me immense pleasure to invite you as a chief guest or just a guest, whatever. And then you break that sentence there and say, we hope for your presence is a little more this one, but you could say, we hope that you grace our fest with your presence. Again, you would learn through the process. This is a great start, and the signature looks perfect. I would say it's simple, it's the number, and tells who you are. So this is better. Yes.
Great. I think what we'll also do is, because a lot of y'all have, we have to address this that I just got. I think it's needed.
Okay. So no subject. Is that what you're?
Yes.
That's fine. I think Rupa has tried to put her subject in the body of the email, inviting as a chief guest. Again, your subject line, guys, try, I know it's difficult, but maybe try to make it a little more attractive for people to go and click into that email. And greetings from RMS institution. Nice way. Maybe put an exclamation rather than just a hyphen there. So the greeting looks really real. Conducting an Ankura held on. So look, when you say held on, it becomes past. I'm sorry, we are going into some of the grammar here, but one of the points I said, reread the email for spell checks and grammar checks, right? So, and this is one thing, right? We are conducting an intercollegiate fest Ankura to be held on. right? Or going to be held on 22nd July, because you're not going to invite somebody for a fest that has already been conducted. And you could probably add a little more meat to your email in terms of why that part, which I'm sure you guys will get there. Thanks and regards, a different way of signature, which is great. That's another one that you could use. Thanks and regards are capital. Just remember that, of regards.
Great, guys. In your case, Rupashri, not having a subject line actually worked for you right now, but that's not what you should follow to do. But what we're going to do now is that we're going to take you through the assessment that has been planned for all of y'all. And it's mainly just to see how much y'all have learned through the session. Also, what we'll do is, Raghav, we can always share an email with them, which is sort of crisp for this assessment, so that all those who have replied, we can reply back, or rather we'll share it with everyone who's registered for the event, because I'm sure everyone would want to see what would have been the best possible way to write this particular email, right? So don't worry, even if you have not taken up your case, we will definitely send you a draft email that you should ideally send in such cases. Don't worry about that. And so this assessment is purely for us to see, we're not going to grade you on it. It's only for you to see if you have understood something, and for us to see if you understood what you needed to understand. We're not grading you on it. Your participation certificate is not dependent on the fact if you write a good email or not. It's only dependent if you submit an assessment or not. So it's very important for you to submit an assessment. I'm going to quickly take you through the topic. All of this information will also be sent to you via email. We're just taking you through the whole process so that it's easy for you to understand, and there is no reason for you to come back to us with any query. Of course, we're here to answer your queries, but we're just trying to smoothen the process out. Okay, so the assessment topic is fairly simple. It's about you writing an email to the DRR for him to be the guest of honor at your club's Independence Day celebration on 15th August 2020. When you're writing this email, please remember you're not actually writing to the DRR. You will write this email to yourself, and you will then send us a copy. I will explain to you how, but when you address, you have to address the DRR. When you send the email, please do not spam the DRR's email inbox. I'm requesting you all. We need you to write this email to yourself. The email ID has to be the same as the email ID you're writing from. Do not spam Raj's email inbox. That's the most important thing here. So this is the topic, and just add a couple of details like how Raj mentioned, why are you calling him? What is his involvement there? How long does he have to be there? Include a couple of details just to ensure that you've actually put some thought into writing this email. Apart from that, the next thing that you will okay, so the first thing is, you, like I mentioned here, step one, write this email to yourself. Do not write it to the DRR. Write this email to yourself. Use the same email ID that is your own email ID and write this email to yourself. So, and when you write an email to yourself, it comes to your inbox. Let me tell you this. If you ever want to test how this works, if you ever write an email from your email ID to yourself, it will always come to your own inbox. Once you receive the email in your inbox, you will see these three dots, which is basically your options icon, and click on this icon. When you click on this icon, your step 3 would be to print your email. When you click on printing your email, you will then be brought to this particular page, which will say, save this email as a PDF. Save this email as a PDF and save it on your desktop, wherever you want to save this email. Save it as a PDF and then upload it onto the link that we are going to provide you. This link, okay, fine. I'll show you the link. So this link, just like how you had your registration form and you had to upload the payment details, it lets you upload a PDF or a document, any document. If it's a Word document you're saving, or any sort of document, it will let you upload the document or a PDF, and you can submit your assessment form. That's all you need to do in your assessment form. All you need to fill in is your name, email ID, contact number, and this assessment. Please send the emails to yourself. Keep in mind the topic, and remember to print it. When you click on the print, you will see this icon which says save as PDF. Click on save as PDF, save it on your desktop, and then upload the PDF on the link. It's very simple. If you still don't understand, you can always write back to us. You have our email ID now. So write back to us and we'll be more than happy to clarify any doubts that you may have on this. You don't need to take a screenshot of the question. We will email the same information to you. So don't worry about that. All of these details will be put on an email and sent to you. We're just showing you right now so that you don't have to go through, it's just easy to view and understand than to write and explain. So that's the only reason why we're showing you this. And please, like the Raj mentioned, do not spam his inbox. It's a request. Do not spam his inbox. He's only going to delete it. It's going to be of absolutely no use, and we will not get the email, so we will not know you've attempted the assessment.
Okay.
So,
Vamshika,
yes.
can you please share the question? Can you just display it once again? So people
It
are
will be
requesting.
it will be sent to the email. The question will be sent.
Don't worry. Everything will be sent to your email ID. Your registered email ID will get all of the information mentioned in the next couple of slides. So now it's over to Raj, and he's going to give us some closing remarks for the session.
Okay, it's more like an vote of thanks that I'll be talking. So, okay, this might not come in order of how I wanted to talk, but anyways, first thing which I'm very much happy is that we have never received. I've been into so many sessions that Rotaractors do from past since the lockdown started. I have never seen people asking these many questions on this important topic, the email communication. We all assume that we know how to write emails, but today I hope even myself I understood how it could be more professional and better, and the kind of questions that we are getting. So there's one thing, the questions that what you have, people, the questions what you have, there will be a feedback form shared with you all. Okay, in that you can give us the question what you had during this session. There will be an extra field because we couldn't answer all the questions. Maybe as a team we'll be able to get back to you. That's one thing. Okay, please keep in mind. So the activity was good. We learned a lot. Mr. Raghavan, you're like such an amazing trainer, sir. When we initially came up with an idea of having email communication, I was discussing with Vamshika and team, like we need a perfect trainer because this is our first event, sir. So we were literally concerned, but the way you, I mean, very knowledgeable, no need to say. We learned a lot of things, the way patiently you took questions and answered. Thanks again for being here, sir. Thank you so much. We are this also, guys, to make that assignment. It's very important. Okay, do take up that assignment so that you will also understand what needs to be done, and we'll also be able to help you all. Okay, I would like to congratulate the team, professional development team, the professional development director Rotaractor Vamshika, joint director Sandesh, district committee team for the Q1, Rotaractor Abhinav, Rotaractor Poojesh, and Rotaractor Varsha for this amazing session that we are going to conclude in a minute or two. So looking forward for a great support. And to conclude, there are two announcements. Okay, one is a surprise announcement and one is a workshop, another workshop announcement. Okay, so just I want to know like which one you want to listen first, the surprise or the workshop. Make use of the chat box. Surprise or the workshop, next workshop. Depending on that, I'll announce what should be. Okay, workshop, guys. Surprise. Okay. Okay. Fine. I'll go ahead and announce with the workshop first. Okay. So similarly, how we did the first workshop, now we'll be having a design workshop. So this will be divided into 3 weekends. So for now, one weekend is confirmed, that is on August 16th. Our timings we'll share it with you. on August 16th, we'll be having Canva workshop. Okay, the Canva design workshop will be there on August 16th. Okay, and there are few clubs which has come to us requesting. I mean, they're also trying to do a session for 5 softwares. Okay, one being the PowerPoint, how we can use PowerPoint as a design software. One is Canva, one is a video editing software, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe Illustrator. Okay, these are the 5 software sessions that we'll be conducting with collaboration with the clubs in the coming month. So do kindly block your calendars August 9th, August 16th, and August 23rd. Okay, these 3 weekends, over these 3 weekends, there will be 5 software workshops conducted by you. How a club can partner with us will be told to you very soon. Okay, and this will be a district supported project. It will be coming from the clubs. District will be supporting. Sounds good. Okay, now I'll come to the surprise one. Okay, the surprise is, of course, we kept the cost very, very, very minimal just to encourage you all to participate. So in that, how much ever we received in the registration fee. Okay, again, remember, listen properly. 50% of the registration fee will be given back to clubs. Which clubs? Is the ones who proactively registered, participated, and gave assignments. It's not about numbers. See, there is a club which registered 40 people. Okay, only 25 people showed up, maybe 25 people responded with the assignment, not be considered. But if there is a club which registered only 10 people, 10 people attended, and 10 people submitted assignment, will be given more preference. Okay, so whichever club responded well, one institution based club, one community based club will be getting a cashback. Okay, this all will be based on how well you submit your feedback, how many people submit your feedback, how many people will give the assignments. Sounds good? Okay, this is an announcement which I wanted to make. Again, I would like to congratulate the professional development team for the initiative. And Mr. Raghavan, you're an amazing trainer. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, thank you, sir.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
Over to you, Vamshika. Vamshika, any concluding remarks, or can we close it? You're on mute. Vamshika, you're on mute. Any concluding remarks, or can we close it? Okay, what happened? I think there's a signal issue. Arun, is there anything, or can we close it? Sandesh, the professional team, anything?
Yes, bro. Nothing else. Nothing else.
Okay,
Just
guys, thank you.
Vamshika.
Thank you again. Vamshika, are you back? You want to say something?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. My network's been dicey. Yes, we can conclude the session. Thank you so much thank you all for attending. Thank you so much, Raghav, for doing this for us. It was wonderful of you to do this. I'm sure everyone has so much more to take back from today's session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Raj, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you for everyone being so cooperative and changing your names to be admitted. I know it must have been a task to wait in the waiting room and get the messages constantly, but thank you for being patient and staying with us till 1 o'clock. Good job, guys. And we hope to see the same enthusiasm for all the events that we conduct. Thank you so much.